Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Adventure Starts Here podcast. This week, we played Dispatch, an episodically released superhero-themed game created by Ad Hoc Studios. With much of the creative force from Telltale Games, Dispatch began production in 2018 and was originally to be made as a live-action project. After several development bumps, some due to the COVID-19 pandemic and nearing bankruptcy, Critical Role partnered with Ad Hoc to help finish the game. Dispatch was noteworthy partly due to its unique episodic release style with 8 total episodes, as well as a voice cast consisting largely of content creators. For our discussion, please be aware that we discuss the narrative and plot beats in depth, so spoilers beware. With all of that out of the way, enjoy the episode. Okay, this week we played Dispatch. Thomas, would you like to give a quick intro?
Sure. So this game came out earlier this year, 2025. Actually, just came out, like a month and a half ago or so. There was a lot of buzz around it. It had like kind of an interesting release schedule. It was made by Ad Hoc Studio, which, as far as I'm aware, is has some shared DNA with the oh my god, what's their name? Telltale people. So all the Wolf Among Us, Walking Dead game people, they made this game. They released 2 episodes every week until they were done releasing them with episode 8. I was curious to see how someone would tell an episodic story in a video game in the same format as a TV show. And so that, in combination with the reception, had me curious.
And I think it comes at an interesting time with all this like new meta superhero stuff like Invincible coming out. I guess Invincible is older, but still. So the question I wanted to ask you guys to start us off, out of the main cast of the game, who would you want to work with or not work with in the Dispatch cast if they worked with you in your IRL job?
I mean, for
And
me, sorry.
no, go ahead.
So if you have any qualifiers, I'd go ahead.
I don't. Go ahead.
I guess I'd have to pick Waterboy for pretty cynical reasons, because I don't want any additional opinions at work. I just need someone to just sit in the corner and shut the fuck up and just do as they're told, and that's about it.
All of the water everywhere isn't going to bother you?
That's a good. So that
He
it's
works
weird,
from
'cause
home.
I work at home. So like, I guess
True.
like that. Me answering this question at all would be kind of cheating, because it wouldn't really matter to me, I guess.
Yeah, like for me, I'm kind of on the opposite end because I work in a warehouse, and like initially when I was thinking about this, I wanted to say Bruno, aka Gollum. I just like him as a character, which is why I remember his name instead of his like superhero name more often than not. But Bruno in a warehouse probably would not work out well. I think there would be some collapsing, racking very quickly. So I'm just gonna say Punch Up because I think he'd be really funny to work with.
He'd probably be pretty good in a warehouse too. Well, actually, he's pretty short. I don't know if that's like a problem or not.
Yeah, we got forklifts. It'll be fine. Forklifts and step ladders.
Is Droid part of the main cast?
I hope so, because he's who I wanted to
Yeah.
work with.
Because I feel like he's the easy slam dunk. It just seems like the
Yeah.
only one of them that's not a complete piece of shit.
Agreed. Yeah, it was Royd for me all day.
I just feel like I worked with so many dude bros at like executive management and Target that I just don't want to be around that anymore.
But the rest of them are just gonna like potentially kill you.
Well, yeah. Why else would I want to work with them? Well, I don't know. Let's just start with like the episodic nature of the game. It feels like kind of the elephant in the room, as it were. We weren't playing this as it released, but did that like style work with you? I feel like most of the games I played that are episodic nature are not like 8 or 9 episodes or whatever this one was. They're usually shorter and more like an act-like structure, something like Claire Obscure that only has 3 acts, or like Last of Us that only has 4 acts. So yeah, how'd you guys feel about the fact that there were so many like segments of the game?
I don't really feel like that was a issue necessarily, because it was all kind of like a part of a cohesive whole. So, well, I did like play this game, like putting myself in the shoes of someone who would have been playing it episodically, and like when Mary and I were sitting down to watch slash play it, we did only do 2 episodes at a time, so we just went 2, 4, 6, 8 and over like 4 sessions, which was actually pretty interesting. But I don't really like, as I was playing it, I didn't really think that it would have nailed like the point of releasing something like that, because like when you release something weekly like that, you should strive to end on like a big hook, like a big like holy shit. And I feel like it only did that once with Chase at the end of episode 6. But other than that, it didn't really like end on any sort of like big cliffhangers or like notable plot, like like it didn't really leave you anywhere. So I didn't really feel like it took advantage of the medium, but it was still really interesting to release a game this way. I'm glad that they did it, because I have a feeling it's not going to be the last time we see something do it.
I think I would have liked it a lot less because I think the ending was kind of like a not great payoff for the game. So if I had to wait for that, I would have been way more pissed than now.
I didn't know if we were going to get into the story, but yeah, the ending was a huge letdown for me.
I think me and Ben are just the same person.
I feel like for me, like in general, I thought the like segmentation of it was pretty good, because like it's kind of nice having that structure to each one, where it's like, okay, he does like the robot stuff in the morning or whatever, and then goes to work, and then lunch break, like all that is like kind of cool. The only thing I didn't really like about it was I don't know, like I boot camped this game, and having to pause for the credits between every episode was pretty annoying when I'm just like slamming it because I'm interested in it. But other than that, yeah, I thought it was fine.
Really, the credits were like the part I looked forward to the most in this game, because I
See
got
the
to like,
people's choices.
yeah, I got to compare myself to other people.
I mean, that part was like cool, I guess. But I would have preferred if that was like all lumped in at the end, I think.
Maybe. I think you would have liked it more if you weren't boot camping it, because if you had played it at release, you wouldn't have been able to. I didn't boot camp it, and I actually loved that part every single time, seeing like how many people picked Waterboy, seeing how many people fucking leaned away from Invisigal when she tried to smooch you. Like I thought that those were actually like uniquely enjoyable payoffs at the end of every episode. Is this the first game that did something like that? I know that like Baldur's Gate 3 would like release like very similar data, but it was like in social media posts.
The
Yeah,
Telltale
that
games
was
did it.
Okay,
yeah,
I was going to
that makes
ask.
sense. I never played any of them, but I just assumed it was just a feature that they all
Yeah.
shared. And I know that like the newer Persona games kind of do it, but they do it in like a more functional way, because a big problem with those games is like the stress of knowing what you're supposed to do on any given calendar day. So to kind of like band-aid that, they kind of just show you what people do, like as like a collective data, like what people all over the world have like done on that day in Persona.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if the Telltale games did it as well. I had a feeling that they did, but I'd never played any of them either, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm sure there's others that have done it, but I know that they have for sure.
Like the question that was kind of going through my mind as we were playing this game was really just, did you guys feel like your choices mattered? Because I honestly felt like as I was playing, a lot of my choices didn't really matter that much, especially towards the end when a lot of that stuff kind of like unifies into one and you have like the whole cast. So it's like, did it really matter if I chose Waterboy or Phenomena Man? Because now I have both of them. Um, but I feel like upon reflecting on the game and like watching clips and stuff, I feel like the choices are fairly substantial. Not like Baldur's Gate 3 level, but I'm not going to hold it to that standard. But they do feel kind of weighty to me, I think.
The
Yeah,
only
the choices inside the narrative sections and like the animated sections for sure matter a lot. What were you gonna say, Ben?
Yeah, so I've never really played any Telltale games, but I mean, the way that they structure their narratives and their choices and consequences are well known enough that it's kind of like memed upon, where it's called illusory choice, where you have a choice and it's like consequences only propagate towards like the next couple of sections, and it stops being important. And that's a criticism that's often levied against these games. It's actually interesting to hear that you guys think that they're actually substantial, because that's I usually hear the complete opposite about these games. And for this game, in my experience, I do feel like they were pretty illusory. Um, that being said, I don't really hold it against the game because I just feel like it's kind of like what they have to do to make these games, like literally produce them. Otherwise, all the different permutations would just balloon the like production costs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. That'd be like a force multiplier on literally everything they have to do. But I guess like when I'm thinking about like weighty decisions, right? I'm thinking about stuff like um, choosing to romance Invisigal versus Blonde Blazer versus like choosing Waterboy versus Phenomenon. Like that's all. Those are things that are going to have like game spanning implications or consequences. Outside of those like huge ones, I would say that that's largely true. How you were describing it, but I feel like there's enough like big forks in the road in this game that like if I were to go back and replay it, I'm like still intrigued to see what the other routes look like just because of how many like different big wide spanning decisions I could do differently.
Yeah, I think that's true. Is like I definitely had that feeling of like, man, I kind of want to play this game again just to like romance Blonde Blazer because that feels like the main and if I'm being a little cynical, only major decision in the entire game. To the point like how it infects Invisigal too, where she like sort of becomes a villain at the end if you go down that route. But like there were other options where I really thought it would be weightier. Like for example, if you tell Flambe that you were Mecha Man, I thought he would just like straight up like leave the party permanently or something. But if I recall, I think he just leaves like temporarily and he comes back in the middle of your dispatch. So it's just like a temporary setback kind of situation.
Small correction. He comes back during the housewarming party for Robert. At least it did in my game. I guess I don't know if there's like reactivity that changes that.
What you described, Seth, is what happened to me. Because after I made that choice and he tried to kill me and Gollum protected me, the next dispatch section, Flambe was not available for like the first couple of minutes, and then he just shows up to work late.
Interesting. Yeah, for me, a lot of this stuff happens at the housewarming party where you like choose who you're gonna dance with, and then he like knocks on the door after shit happens. So I guess
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, there's just like a lot of stuff that I would expect to have longer lasting impacts, but like I don't feel like there's a true like there's it's a very binary ending, I think, with just like a lot of permutations, but there's not a possible like terrible ending where like yeah, we can accept that Shroud will like not get away, he'll like get captured or dead or deadified or whatever. But I would think it would be cool if there was a really like bad ending where like for example maybe Blonde Blazer because she's just like super pissed off at you doesn't save Chase or something like that. I would expect something like that where there's like major moments that do or don't happen based on like the culmination of your choices, I guess.
It didn't seem like there was anything like that. I feel like I'm more on the Ben side of it, where like the major choices seem illusory, like at best. Because yeah, like I went back and looked at like what happened if you pick like the Invisigal's like a villain thing, and like the actual changes to scenes and thing are minor. They just kind of like omit scenes with her. It's not like there's actual
Yep.
reactivity with her not being there. So it's kind of like nothing really feels that different. It feels just kind of like minor, especially in the way that the game shows it to you.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And I feel like I was actively noticing that during my playthrough too, specifically
Yeah.
with Sonar and Coop, where like it would cut to like just a close up of like, because I chose Sonar to stay, and it would just cut to like a close up of his face. And I was like, oh, that's probably really easy to just edit to be Coop there instead.
Hmm.
And it's like, I started noticing that more and more, where it's like, how many group shots am I seeing with these people? Not very
Yeah.
many because like they don't want to have to replace the entire thing with Coop for Sonar.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess if I think about it differently, where like as far as the choice and consequence goes in relation to the ending, yeah, nothing really matters because it's always going to converge on the same point. Because that's just, I mean, that's you got to have to. Otherwise, you end up with the same problem that Paradise Killer has, where you just have some vague bullshit, non-canon, woo-woo ending. But I'd like the consequence insofar as like the winding path that it takes to get to that convergence point.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Yeah, I don't think I disagree with that. I don't know. I feel like I just wanted my decisions to have more like visibility by the end of the game, I suppose.
Well, I will say I do have a major problem in that sector, which is I had a thought today, and that thought was if the dispatch sections of this game were just like 25-second animations of Robert like fucking typing away on his computer or whatever and talking to the heroes in his headset, would literally anything about the game be different? Like if you just deleted the whole thing, any sort of like reactivity, which I couldn't tell if there was any or not, like I can't see how it justifies its existence at all, because it didn't seem like it actually changed anything in that like path towards the end.
I don't think that if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, I don't think that the dispatch sequences affect the following cinematic sequences, but I think the opposite is true. I think the cinematic sequences affect the dispatch sequences, which is I think their variation of trying to make it feel like your decisions are having a bigger weight than they are, like with the flambe thing that we talked about.
Yeah, I suppose that is true.
I mean, I like the dispatch. That was like my favorite part of the game was like them bantering and the bit dispatch and everything, and what really separates it from just being a TV show. Like I don't think a TV show can really do what those sections are.
Yeah,
And I like
I
that part the
also
Well,
most.
yeah, well, of course, but the problem is it's like residing in this liminal space of like, is it a mediocre game or is it a mediocre TV show?
Yeah, that was another question I was going to ask you guys. Like, would you guys rate this game differently as a TV show versus a game? I feel like I definitely would.
Probably be lower as a TV show.
yeah, I feel the same way. If it
Mhm.
was just a TV show, it'd be worse.
Oh yeah, it'd be much worse for
I
sure.
also think that like giving choice like this, usually never like it unless you can really make it feel like shit changes, like Baldur's Gate 3. Like if not, just like pick one thing and go fucking hyper ham into it. Because like what Seth said, when you can like see the seams of the choices, it feels fucking terrible.
But I mean, like, what's the way around that,
You
right?
don't give choice.
But then, I don't know.
Yeah, that doesn't
I
seem right at all.
I think there's enough people that like the Telltale formula where they like it's just the way that it's going to be. Whereas the way that you described it sounds like it just shouldn't exist at all. Which maybe
Yeah.
is what you mean.
At that point, I mean, you're not even playing Fate Stay Night, because Fate Stay Night had choices. You are literally just playing nothing.
What choices do you have in Clear Obscure outside of the ending?
Well,
The
that
difference is that Clair Obscure has a massive like game wrapped around it.
Yeah, so if you committed more to being less about choices and more about a game, you could still
oh,
make that
okay.
work.
I see what you're saying, Jordan. I thought you meant like literally have the same game, like just
Yeah,
go
me
hyper
too.
ham into just taking out all the choices and it's the same thing. Which at that point it's like literally just the show, right?
No, you'd be able to dedicate some of those resources to like the extra like animations and like thought and stuff, and then you could actually have like a really sick story, and then you just figure out how to make everything work together with the gameplay and everything. That's like
It
my
would.
preference because I don't like seeing the seams and choices in this game. You could definitely see them.
100%, yeah. But I think like that's definitely a viable alternative. I think maybe an easier, well, a similar alternative would be just making it so your decisions have a bigger impact. Like for example, and I don't know, maybe this just increases the scope of the game too much, but like the sonar and coop thing is an example of like a totally binary choice. And specifically, I'm referencing how you like fight them on the last day, like during the dispatch sequence. That's an example of like a totally binary option where you can see that seam. Like, okay, I'm fighting coop here. If I told sonar to leave, I'd probably just be fighting sonar. I haven't even looked it up. I'm just assuming that's true right now, and it probably is. But you could have things like, oh, I pissed off Flambe a lot, and now I have him as a mini boss on like the 6th or 7th day. Like you could have a lot of big impacts like that like accumulate your choices in a meaningful way.
I guess I kind of see what you're saying, but if it was a little more systematic, and there is literally one system that is like a through line for the whole story, which is like the mentorship system, where you gain mentorship points with Invisigal, and if you get enough, you get the good ending, and if you don't, you get the bad ending. But maybe if there was something like that for every character, and you could have like the hell story if you just do so bad that and everyone hates you, that like you have only
Crowd
Water
wins, yeah.
Boy at the
Yeah,
the
it would-
last fight, and you just lose real
Yeah.
fast.
I mean, this is a terrible example to bring up, but like the Mass Effect 3 ending, I think, where like everyone can die or everyone can
Oh,
live.
that's
Like
two.
I
Yeah.
think
I guess it's both. I guess it's technically both, but I think what you're talking about is the suicide mission from 2.
I actually don't. I haven't played that game, so I don't know 100% how it works. But I'm just thinking of something where like, uh, and this is like a terrible way of implementing it, but say you accumulate points with each of your dispatch team members throughout the game based on XYZ factors, and at the end of the game they have to have like at least 60 out of 100 points in order to like survive the ending or something like that. So you feel like your choices with that person made an impact by the end of the game. Terrible way to implement it, but you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, like the problem with this game really is that it's just kind of a mediocre version of two things. Because I think the choice and consequence side of it is fine, because if you're going to make a game, like there's got to be some degree of interactivity, and I think that making these games kind of like a choose your own adventure book is like a totally reasonable and fine way to do it. But like when you have these interstitial gameplay sequences that are just kind of stapled on there and just really feel like an afterthought, it's like both parts of your game suffered because you chose to make this.
Just confirm there was no consequences for failing dispatch, right? Because like even on the last day, I didn't win that. I got clobbered, and then the game just continued.
That's hilarious.
Wait,
That's
So
funny.
what the fuck happens if you lose?
I just assume the same thing that happens when you win.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I have no idea.
What the hell?
I know I did routinely poorly on them if the you perform better than X% players thing has any indication.
I think that thing's a lie.
I think what it is probably people doing like multiple playthroughs who fucking like min-maxed a little more.
I know that people cheated, so I don't know if they counted statistics, but they
Seems
probably
like
do.
that seems like a lot of people to have cheated though. Or it's
Yeah.
just weird. Like I was wondering if maybe in the way that they calculate that, um, I guess I don't know, because I was wondering if maybe some people stuck around in the dispatch and just did more missions. Like I don't know if they actually stop. Some days anyway. I know some days are absolutely scripted to stop, but yeah, I don't know. I couldn't figure that out either, because I was like, I failed like one mission, but how's that worse than fucking 60% of people or whatever?
Yeah, I think it was episode 4 maybe where I literally got performed better than 1% of players in today's shift, which I don't think is humanly possible because I didn't even fail. I failed maybe like 5, maybe I think it was 6. I think I passed 10, failed 6, and it said 1%, and I was like, I don't believe this at all. I think it's just fake numbers.
Yeah, I wonder how they calculate it too, because my initial assumption was that they just make a proportion based on like successes or failures, but I wonder if it's more like how closely you matched each dispatch to the target.
Oh, that might be it, yeah.
Yeah, that could be
That
it.
that would make a little more sense.
There's definitely stuff in that calculation that is like not obvious.
I will say, with regards to the choice stuff earlier, I was kind of ragging on it, but there are some pretty cool ones. Like if there's anything I'm to give this game credit for, it's that the game's responses to the choices you make are like pretty creative and fun. Like for example, throwing either water or alcohol on flambe at the start. I didn't even
Yeah.
think about it until I actually threw it, but it's like, oh, alcohol, he's on fire. That's going to go poorly. But I chose to do water, which made him slip on the water and he busted his tooth, and now he's just missing a tooth for the rest of the playthrough. I thought something like that is like cool and memorable and funny.
those are the choices that I liked. I liked the smaller choices where like you have to choose to put the guy's dick back in his pants. Like I think that that's fucking awesome versus the big choices where like obviously they need to consolidate, like Ben said, or else the budget's gonna go crazy. So give me the small ones all day.
Yeah, small ones with a small but noticeable effect are
Yeah.
very valid.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, all these games are gonna converge on the same point because I imagine they want to make a sequel to this shit, and you have to have at least somewhat of a canon ending if you want to make a sequel to something like this, anyway, which is clearly on rails to a degree, a big degree.
We were already kind of like talking about the narrative here and there. So, like, did you guys like this story? Did you like how it was presented? Does it hold up to other things like your cynical superhero stuff like Invincible or Watchmen? Does it hold up to stuff like that, or did it like carve its own path, or did it just fail completely?
So let's see, how do I go about this? I guess to preface before I say anything about this game's story, I actually did enjoy this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if I have the highest rating out of all of us for this game. But like I was kind of under the impression playing through the story that like maybe it was gonna go for something like more sophisticated and mature because they're showing like tits and dicks and like it's got like less of a cape shit vibe going on, or at least what I know about it, because like I have very limited exposure to stuff like Invincible, but from what I understand, it's like that, and it's not supposed to be like your Marvel slap. But then when I got to the end of the game, and the way that the story ends is that the villain gets felted by the power of friendship, I could not help but feel disappointed. And like the villain himself, Shroud, I thought was a worse villain than Ultima from Final Fantasy 16. And I do not say that lightly. But everything before the ending, I actually enjoyed a decent bit.
Yeah. This game is very similar to Life is Strange for me with that because I think Life is Strange, the first 3 chapters of that game are cool, and then the last 2 chapters are like Men in Black, my memory of them because they're so bad. And this game, I feel like the last chapter is just absolutely like terrible.
Yeah, there were like a couple things I liked about how it wrapped up. A couple things I'll definitely rag on. I thought Shroud was a better villain when he didn't have the mask on, which is not
Yeah.
something you should want from your villain. Like he should not feel more intimidating when he's just like looking like a dude, you know? Like something I liked about the ending, I thought the option to like give him both the astral pulse and the replica, I thought that was pretty cool because I ran it through in my head during the option and I was like, okay, if he knows what the fake astral pulse would look like, then there's no downside to giving him both, so I may as well just risk it. And I felt like rewarded for like thinking that through in that way. um but then there's other things I didn't like in that last episode, like there's something I don't like in a lot of like superhero movies that do this or like shows or whatever, and it's when the bad guys just become like target dummies for the heroes to show off their powers. I'm thinking specifically when Waterboy does his little like jump up in the air with his water and then like dive bomb down on 3 of them, and I guess they're just standing there the entire time while he's doing that instead of shooting them. And yeah, stuff like that just bothers me where it's like a reverse stormtrooper.
Yeah, that's the power of friendship shit I was talking about. And another thing that bothered me about how the way this story ended was how they treated a track star. I I thought that like it was really cool that he had that sacrifice and it felt really meaningful.
Yep.
So when he came back in the ending as like a fucking Looney Tunes character,
Fair.
I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me! I'm so over this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's definitely one of the worst moments of the story by far. Because like the one of the best parts is the end of chapter 6 when he like has to fucking sacrifice some degree of his like lifespan to save a broad he doesn't even like, and then an hour and a half later they just
Yeah.
undermine the whole thing and it never mattered.
I also
It's
hate
really
that when he
stupid.
makes that sacrifice, they make you make a choice between like keeping Invisigal and getting rid of her. Where if you get rid of her, that's like against everything that Chase did. So I think that even that presenting that choice, I think is like bad. But yeah, basically everything from that point on, I thought was like terrible, narrative wise.
Yeah, Mary and I even commented like once we finished the 6th episode, it was like, how are they wrapping this up in 2 hours? Like there's like there's so much stuff that they haven't even like started yet, much less concluded.
Like for
Go ahead.
me, like a bare minimum, I think they would have needed to make like 2 or 3 more episodes just to salvage the character of Shroud. Because like the fact that you don't even find out what his motive is until like 1 minute literally before he dies is fucking heinous.
Am I stupid? Did I like totally black out and miss something where I was told who Eli was?
That's when I found out his name too in the ending.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, did I just totally blank on something that happened in like the beginning of chapter 1 or somewhere in chapter 1? Because like everyone's saying this Eli person's name, like I'm supposed to know who the fuck this is, and I have no idea.
There
I
is
don't
somewhere
remember.
where they mention it, like, because I remember knowing that, but I can't remember where.
Maybe it was from a choice that I didn't pick because I don't remember hearing the word Elliot or Eli at all until literally like right before he died.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, okay, so Shroud worked with Robert's dad, and they like created the Astral Pulse together, and now he's like come back for it, like. That's his whole motivation is like sour grapes over some fucking. It's literally the plot of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I was just about to say that plot can work because Breaking Bad is popular, but it's definitely not.
And also Aaron Paul's in it.
Oh my
It's
god, they
literally
should have
Breaking
gotten
Bad.
fucking what's his name to play
Bryan
Shroud.
Cranston.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston.
I mean, it doesn't even matter who they got to play him because the vocoder they used on it just completely like ruined the performance. So
Also true.
Yeah. I will say though, like the things you guys are saying is indicative of what I think the most massive problem with the narrative of this story is. And I think I said something about it in the OneNote. We played another game that did the same thing that this game does. I can't remember what that game was, but the problem with the narrative of this game is kind of the same thing that happens in a lot of like the modern cape shit Marvel stuff, especially, which is the story just has a tendency to jump from like big story beat to big story beat. So like, um, I I understand that this game had like production issues and they had to like bail them out of bankruptcy or whatever. So I do take some amount of that into consideration. But like, no one in this game had any time to develop like an adequate amount of chemistry. Like, am I crazy in thinking that? Like, Invisigal just wakes up with after having a wet dream about Robert. Now suddenly she's fucking head over heels for him. Fucking Flambe nearly incinerates Robert, and then like next chapter he's knocking on his door with a fucking like lamp as a present. Like, here we go. Like, where's the stuff that happens in between that actually makes me give a shit about these characters? Like, I feel like every single conflict, I saw the very beginning of the conflict and I saw the very end of the conflict, but I never saw any of the shit in the middle that actually develops these characters and gives me like a sense of the stakes, gives me a sense of who these people are and why they're here and why they're doing this. Like, there's no rising action and there's no like description of the background. Like, I don't even know anything about Invisigal. Like, why should I view her as sympathetic rather than just like this annoying fucking brat who is like clearly just damaged? Like they do no effort whatsoever to turn her into a sympathetic character. She's just a bitch the whole time with no like major backstory reveals that justify why she's acting that way. And that's just the same for every single character. Why do I give a shit about Shroud? Why do I give a shit about Robert?
Well,
and the game never answers any of it.
I'll give you the Invisigal wet dream example. That's definitely like a light switch that got turned on very, very suddenly. But I'm gonna push back with regards to like giving time and air for all of the other characters, because even if we don't see like every single waking moment of everything, like I think there's a lot of implied like these people are working together, like they have their dispatch days, and maybe the jump from like Malevola attacking Invisigal to everyone being buddies at the party is a little sharp, but I feel like there's a lot of implied time between everything where it was at least believable to me the way their dynamic developed over time. And kind of like what Sesh said earlier, I felt like the banter and the dispatch sections was like one of the best parts of the game. And like I really like the characters for that reason. So I like didn't really bat an eye when they're all just like chilling and partying together. And specifically, again, I feel like it gives a lot of time for that stuff because, like, Jesus, how long does that party scene go on for? It like I think it's great. I think that's like maybe the best scene in the game, and they like devote plenty of time to it to kind of show how these characters are changing, I think.
That, I think, is the one scene where they did do a good job of like developing the relationships between the characters. It's also the only time that they really
There's
do
the
it.
restaurant
Like
scene.
characters like bantering with each other is not like character development. Like I talk shit with people all the time at work that I don't know the first goddamn thing about, other than we like to talk shit to each other. But if I'm subjecting myself to like an 8-hour narrative about these characters, I want to know something about these characters. And I feel like I didn't know a goddamn thing.
I like that part. I like that it wasn't just like, here's this guy's backstory, here's this guy's backstory, because whenever that happens, I'm always like, skip, get to the shit that matters. So I like that
Yeah.
they were just like, enjoy the charisma of the characters without needing to know why everybody's here.
Yeah, I think extrapolating
What
that.
charisma does
I think
Invisigal
extrapolating
have?
that
She's
out a
hot.
little bit is like I'm very exhausted of like origin stories and a lot of this stuff. And with a cast this big, I'm glad they didn't do it.
But superhero shit is where you want an origin story, or at least like a reason why this person is the way that they are. Like, how am I meant to give a shit about Invisigal when I don't know why Invisigal is such a shitty human? Like, all she is just a shitty human.
Shitty because all her powers do are like promote her to steal and shit, so that she kind of got put down the path.
Yeah, that's a choice
Yeah.
she makes. Why does she make that choice? Just because you turn invisible doesn't mean you gotta fucking rob banks. I can go out and buy a gun and shoot people. I make the conscious choice not to.
I think
do
that was part of the point of the good, well, quote unquote, good ending of the game. The ending where you romance Invisigal, because like it shows that you can block a bullet without realizing it if you're invisible, you know. But yeah, I just think that she was a character that didn't realize that until it was kind of put right there in front of her face. I can understand, like, if you can turn invisible, your natural thing is going to be stealing from people. Like, I don't think that's unbelievable.
I don't know. I think that like stories like this where like every single major choice is meant to be like an emotional peak, right? Like when you make the choice between do you want to go on a date with Invisigal or with Blonde Blazer, or do you want to choose between Coop and Sonar? Do you want to choose between Phenomenon and Waterboy? Like those are all things that should come with some degree of like emotion behind them. Like if even if there isn't any weight behind the choice, it should feel like there is, because otherwise why are you even telling this fucking story if there's no stakes, if there's no like if there's no emotional resonance behind the choice, there's no reason to even posit the choice. And it just felt like there was absolutely no emotion behind anything I did because I didn't understand who any of these people were, nor did I
I
care.
definitely agree with you in regards to like Coop and Sonar, because like when that choice came up, I was like, I literally
Yeah.
don't give a fuck at all.
I chucked Sonar because I couldn't get past the fact that he's moist critical. So I was like,
I
yeah,
kept
just don't
Sonar
wanna
because he's
listen
moist
to him.
critical.
I couldn't tell if it was just because his voice is too recognizable, or if he had a bad performance, and I still don't have an opinion on it.
I mean, he was just talking. There wasn't even a performance.
So
Yeah,
that means it's a
talking-
bad performance.
Yeah, talking is the best way to describe it. And I know that you wrote it in the one note, so I'm just gonna like address it now. Related to like the performances, like I'm not someone that really cares all that much as long as it's better than Chaos Wars, but and for what it's worth, it was overall. But there was a huge gulf in difference that I could tell between like people who are trained voice actors and people who are just influencers, basically, specifically Moist Critical and who did Malevola, I think it was like Alana Pierce, where like whenever they had like group conversations with all the characters talking to each other, and I could tell like people that are like acting their hearts out, like giving great performances, and then like suddenly someone just starts talking like when Moist Critical is talking, like you might as well just put me in the game. It would have been the same thing, but a lot cheaper.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I 100% agree with you, but there were exceptions. Like for example, I personally just don't really like Jacksepticeye. I watch the first 5 seconds of a video he's in, and I hear the little intro thing he does, and I'm like, flush, not watching this video. But I actually really liked his performance as Punch Up in this game. I expected to hate that character, but I think he did pretty well overall. But I think that's the only exception where, like, obviously Invisigal's performance is great. Obviously Phenomena Man's performance is great. Shroud's performance, not actually that great. Aaron Paul, fantastic. Fucking, I even really like Joel Haver, who played Waterboy. I think everyone outside of those people, you can really see their lack of experience.
As someone who doesn't know who any of these like YouTubers or social media people were, like even down to Moist Critical, other than having heard maybe 15 seconds of his YouTube videos before, I did not know a single other person in this game, and I thought honestly they all did fine. I didn't think that there was like a huge weak link in anyone, but there also wasn't like a huge standout either.
Yeah, I didn't like Moist Critical, and then everybody else did fine to great. I think like Coop was also pretty forgettable, but that's probably just because it's like the swap out character kind of thing. And then yeah, Malevola didn't bother me until you mentioned that she was just kind of felt like she was talking. And now as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, she did just feel like she was talking, but I don't know. I think they kind of piggybacked the design well enough from Karlak where I kind of like forgot that it wasn't a great performance.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say with a lot of these characters, the like character concept that they made did a lot of legwork. Like,
Yeah.
even for Punch Up, like, okay, he's a leprechaun that punches people in the balls. I'm here for it. Just do a Scottish accent. You're good.
That's like the best one, yeah.
Yeah. I also don't think that people just talking is necessarily like the worst thing in the world for this game, because I mean, like 80 to 90% of this game is just these people at work, right? So they are just going to be talking.
And like I said, like like all of the dialogue in this game easily clears the Chaos Wars bar. It's just that like there's like just this dissonance when you hear like actual performances segue into just Moist Critical
Talking
reading a
about
line
boobs,
from
yeah.
a piece of paper.
Yeah, that 10,000% what you just said. Like, you just have a really dramatic moment between one of the best voice actresses ever in Laura Bailey playing Invisigal, and one of the actors of the best TV show ever, Breaking Bad, Aaron Paul, having this really dramatic moment or whatever, and then you just hear Moist Critical talking about fucking being a bat. It's very, very jarring.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly think a lot of that is probably you guys knowing these people outside of this game, because that never bothered me, because like I said, I think they all did fine.
Yeah, that makes sense, because like I've never had like same voice syndrome until this game, so yeah, I think that tracks.
Moist Critical is the only one that bothered me.
I think that Malevola might bother me if I just didn't like the character because of Karlak.
I think she did fine.
I will say, you guys are talking about the character designs. I think the character designs of this game were fucking dog shit. I thought they were awful.
What about them?
So not notable. Like, the most notable one is just the character design that they literally like 99% stole from Baldur's Gate 3. The rest are just like, okay, you have the girl who dresses in a crop top and turns invisible. You have the tattooed leprechaun midget who punches dicks. Like, so much of it is stuff that I would expect to read on like the description of an audiobook that Chris is going to add to his Audible cart. You know what I mean?
I think you definitely highlighted the two worst designs, but like I mean, like, what's wrong with like Blonde Blazer? It's like a subversion of like a traditional superhero, right? What's wrong with Gollum? Like, I think he's fine. He's just a generically big rock dude, but he's also like soft spoken and kind.
Yeah, you said it. Generic.
He's also soft spoken and kind.
They're all. What do you mean? He talks like he's like a fucking like 350-pound, 6'10" bouncer. How's he?
He's always ever the only voice of reason in the room.
He's constantly getting drunk and talking about like eating edibles. Am I thinking of the wrong character?
Are we?
But can he even
He's
get
the big
drunk?
rock guy.
Yeah, he literally is outside of the bar getting shit-faced
Oh, yeah, that's
by
right.
just literally throwing the glass into his mouth.
I thought he was outside the bar because they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can get him drinks, and then he just chucks
Yeah,
both shot
I
glasses
give him
into his
drinks.
mouth.
The reason I'm saying he's the only voice of reason is because if you piss off Flambe at the restaurant, Flambe tries to roast Robert, and Gollum like blocks it.
Yeah.
And Gollum is also the only one that wants to keep Invisigal on the team when they have that little meeting. That's why I'm saying that.
True.
That's not something I would expect from a character like that.
True.
I don't know. I still just like very happily will rest on the fact that all of the character designs in this game were extraordinarily unnotable, generic, and just kind of just out and out dull. Like if I look at the like facial portraits of the characters in this game, I would think that it's like a fucking Chinese mobile game.
Just to be clear, when we're talking about character designs, or like when you're talking about them, are you speaking only visually or like everything about them?
Mostly visually, probably like 80% visually,
Okay.
20% what they actually
Okay,
do.
I probably agree if we're just talking visual then. Yeah. I mean, again, the coolest one is Karlach, and they just ripped it off Karlach, so
I thought the animation's tight. I don't know. It just felt like Teen Titan style shit, and I have no issue with that.
I'm not talking about the animation at all. I'm talking about the
I'm-
character designs.
I have no
the animation's
problem with
great.
anything visual in this game at all. Even if it's generic or anything, I don't mind it.
There was something, maybe it's just me, because like I haven't watched cartoons or anime in a really long time, but something bothered me about the animations, not during like the like chiller moments where people are just like talking and it's more cinematic, but like in action sequences it bothered me where it felt like there were just too many discrete frames of animation, and it looked like it was like recorded in stop motion or claymation or
Yeah, it
something.
definitely
Maybe
looked
that's
weird.
just me.
You're right. That definitely
I
existed.
think
It
you're
wasn't
right.
smooth at all. But it again, that didn't really bother me. But that is like just a fact. It's definitely a choppy style.
yeah, it might have been
Yeah,
it
there's
might have been more of like a stylistic choice, and I was fine with it.
there's some stuff that does that. Like, am I crazy or is that how the Invincibles? It's more pronounced in this game, but I think Invincible's animated in a similar way.
Invincible is just what's that old cartoon? Not Justice League. I can't remember, but it's just mimicking an older one, but it is very few frame count, yeah.
Yeah, so it didn't bother me. I'm just like
Young Justice.
It wasn't like a new thing. It's
Yeah,
something
and
I've seen
that's what I'm
before,
saying,
so
because
it didn't
I
bother
assume
me
it's
too
just
bad.
more of like a modernized style, because it was off-putting to me, but I just assumed that you guys probably wouldn't get bothered if you guys like watch a lot of that stuff more recently, and it's just how they do it nowadays or something.
I will say it definitely like stood out because a lot of the way that I played this game was by streaming it on Moonlight from my PC to my TV, and I was wondering, I was like, man, what is this like latency, or is this game really just like this low of a frame count? Until eventually I saw on my computer, I was like, okay, that is just how it is. But I definitely did
Yeah, it's
think
definitely
about
worse
that.
in like action scenes too, when things are moving fast.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, it was most noticeable during the entire ending confrontation stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was actually gonna say I thought that the ending fight scene actually was
Yeah.
like pretty shit, honestly.
I think chapter 8 as a whole fucking sucks the whole way through.
It sucks too, because like I like the concept of something they did in that, where you like get to choose the weapon from your fucking mecha arsenal to fight. Like,
Yeah.
that's just a cool idea. Like, it might not actually affect the like end outcome, but it felt pretty upfront with that. But it's like, yeah, I just want to fucking see a laser sword fight. Let's go.
Yeah, so I actually thought about that, and the fact that I went full journalist mode and turned off the QTEs made me realize that, like, if you chose a different weapon, you'd have to do a different QTE, and I don't know if I would have liked it or hated it more because of that.
Well, let me offer this one to you while we're talking about QTEs, because I didn't know this one until I looked up, or I just saw a video of this. But one of my favorite scenes in the game is basically everything at the restaurant, but especially how it cuts back to the bar fight when they're like biting into a taco, but he's actually like biting someone's ear off or whatever. Um, and this video I saw showed me that those are all actually QTEs. So you like swipe your mouse down to bite down on the taco, and then it cuts to like biting his ear off. And I think that's actually a pretty cool way to do a QTE.
Can you fail
That's pretty
them?
funny.
Because I literally played
think it
with
just waits for
0
you.
of them. Really?
I think.
So you can just leave it there like Aerith style and just wait there forever?
I assume so.
Yeah, you can.
Jesus, I don't know. I guess that's the only way they could do it, because like
Yeah.
like you can't like create all these fail states because there are none, literally. So, I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't like it. The only reason I ever like QTEs is when you can fail them, because failing all of them is the best part. Like that's why Heavy Rain is a significantly better game when you just are doing the fucking running through the grocery store scene, and that motherfucker just gets owned by chickens and everything in the grocery store. That's like the best part of the
That shit's
game.
hilarious. And I don't know for sure, but I think a lot of the QTE fails are kind of cop outs too, because it'll be like if you fail a QTE during the bar fight scene, it'll just be like sonar that comes and like shoves the guy out of the way instead of you actually failing the QTE. That kind of lame stuff like that.
Yeah, give me Laura Croft getting stuck on a spear when you fuck up the QTE.
I don't know. I think that would make it worse because, I mean, you say that and it is cool, but then you have to realize what happens afterwards, where like the scene reboots and you have to watch everything over again.
I mean, that's why it was great in Tomb Raider, because it would literally put you right before you fucked it up. So you get to be like, oh, cool, another one. I get to see how she gets brutally murdered. All right, let's keep going.
You know, that just made me wonder something. I wonder if you fail a bunch of QTEs, because like by the end of my game, Robert was like beat the fuck up, like bruises all over the place, and I'm wondering if it's just like that, or if he gets more bruises if you fail QTEs or something. That'd be cool.
It's gotta
From
just
what I
be like that.
understood, like he was just that bruised from
Yeah.
like literally the beginning of the game.
God damn, he's just a peach.
So to segue off of that, I thought Mecha Man fucking sucked. Like, even when he gets in the suit, he just gets constantly fucking owned by everything. That motherfucker didn't do shit, but they always talk about him like he did everything.
I don't disagree being disappointed when he got in the suit, but I actually him outside the suit was kind of a vibe. I kind of liked him as a character.
Yeah, he's fun as a character. I
You're
literally
talking
just
about
mean
Robert, right?
Mecha
He
Man.
means Mecha Man.
I
Like,
literally just mean every time he got in the suit, he got beat
Oh, okay,
to shit
yeah.
by everybody. Everybody owned him. Everyone, even the fucking guy
That is
whose
true.
power was turning into an acid man and having his balls out. He got beat by that guy.
Yeah, that is true. He was kind of like a, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's like a reverse underdog, like the guy on top being brought down. Like that kind of thing can be entertaining, but it doesn't really work for the like final conflict. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, don't even get me started on chapter 8. Like, Shroud gets the fucking thing, and now he's this omnipotent being that could see everything before, and now probably supersees everything. And then this retard just walks up to him and gets punched 3 times in the fucking head, and he's dead. Like, what are we talking about? Like, how
Wait,
did you get beat by someone who has no powers and just ran up to you?
is that really what happens if you give him the astral pulse, or if you don't give him both? I guess.
That's what happened to me. He put it in his head, and he was like, "I can see everything." And then Robert was like, "Oh, you shot at Visigal," and runs up and just punches him to death. Like, how would that ever happen ever?
All right, yeah, that fucking sucks.
For a guy who has no powers, Robert sure did win
Yeah.
a lot of fist fights
Dude,
against people with powers.
legitimately CQC'd one of the fucking henchmen who had powers while he was like running through the hallways, and I was like, "What
Yeah.
the fuck is that?"
I'm sort of like mildly willing to accept the fact that like he does fight against superheroes in his little mecha suit, probably keeps in good shape or whatever, but yeah, like he literally wins
Yeah.
more fights outside of his fucking mecha
Exactly.
suit than inside of it. Because inside
Exactly.
he wins 0.
I would agree with that point specifically more if they didn't go out of their way to show that the actual superheroes can lift like 15 times more than he can.
Yeah. So what happened with you, Seth? Does he put in the wrong one in his head and then you beat the shit out of him?
yeah, that's what happened to me. He put I gave him both pulses, and I don't know if it's like random chance, but he put the wrong one in there, and like he just goes haywire, and that's about it. And then you just beat him up.
Yeah. The ending, like I think that one thing you could say that makes it maybe worse than it is, it definitely feels like they wrote one ending first, the give him both ending, and then for some reason decided to write the other two, and those ones just fucking suck by the sound of it, because him getting the astral pulse is boring for the reasons that you said. But the idea of this guy that's like talking about statistics and I've seen every possibility and I predicted the outcome of this just being fucked by a 50-50 coin flip, I think that's fucking awesome. And the like little speech that Robert gives leading up to it is cool. But yeah, it just shouldn't have been an option, unfortunately, to not give them both, because that's just a cooler outcome.
Yeah, I mean, I just gave him the pulse, and then he puts it in his head, and he's like, I could see everything, and then you just literally just beat the shit out of him when he should be an unbeatable being.
Yeah, the way it works when you give him both is he can't tell which is which because they're identical. He loses the 50-50 coin flip. I don't think it's RNG what actually happens. I think he does just always pick the bad one. And they all just like start fucking vomiting because they can't handle like the bad pulse. And which makes a lot more sense when he just gets beat up and has to pull out a gun to try and shoot Robert, because that's all he can do at that point. So yeah, the other ending's not as good.
Yeah, so I don't even know what you just said, because what happens when you give him the pulse, he's like, I can't let you live, and then shoots you anyway, and then that's when Invisigal gets in the way. So I don't know what happens when he puts the wrong one in his head.
It's just like he's reacting from having the bad one in his head by like throwing up and shit, and he's like panicking, so he pulls out the gun and shoots you. So it's like exact same thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I think if you give him the pulse, it's like the worst shit ever. Because now when I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm like, that makes a little more sense. But yeah, my shit just sounds like it's shoehorned into your shit.
So you're telling me him outcome. like he's dropping the lines of I can see everything, and that ending doesn't result in him just getting bodied by Invisigal? Like that would be perfect, and they don't do it.
No, it's literally he still shoots, goes through Invisigal, and then Robert goes in a rage and then just runs up and punches him to death. Or not to death, but punches him, and then you get the choice of to kill him or not. And somehow this guy who could see everything and like would never get hit before he had this fucking nuclear cell in his head can't see that there's some unpowered guy running at him and punching him.
Yeah, wow, that's him getting the astral pulse is real dumb. Yikes.
Yeah, if I chose that ending, I think I would do like -2 on the score.
Yeah, you should look up the give him both variant, because I think it was actually pretty good, especially compared to that.
Yeah, I mean, clearly that's the one that it should be. Oh, also, there's another part during all of that where did anybody hear like not romance Invisigal? Like,
I romanced Blonde Blazer, and that was literally the only consequence. Where like right before he tries to shoot you, he basically snitches on you and says that you cheated on her with Invisigal, and I was like, God damn you, fuckface. Yeah, but even then, like, it was consequenceless because Blonde Blazer was super chill with it. She was like, I hope you make her happy, and then she just shared a beer with me.
That's funny.
What the fuck?
So yeah, so then for me, like, there's a segment at the end where Shroud is like, and Invisigal betrayed you, and she's working for me at the same time. And then, like, after the ending sequence, nobody fucking brought that up ever again. And it's like, I think you guys forgot to take this out of my playthrough, because there's no way that that's how this would have went. I don't know if you guys had the same thing.
I definitely had a couple moments where I was like, did they not like did something get fucked here? Did they forget that I made a choice? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, there's literally like a moment in Trial where it's like, haha, Invisigal actually betrayed you and she's working for me, but then like and then after that she like takes the bullet for you or whatever, and then like everything's chill. So it's like, I think they just like rushed this together and just forgot permutations.
I think the logic is that that's just like one of those convergence points where everyone has like, actually no, that's not true, because I don't know what the failing to be a mentor ending is like. Is it actually like a bad ending, like straight up?
I know she's not there, but I don't know what happens. I only saw the very end.
I'm just going to assume that that's just straight up a bad ending and not canon. And the canon ending is just getting the mentor ending, because it just seems that like all paths lead to dating Invisigal. And I assume that if there's a Dispatch 2, that she's going to be a main focus, and Blonde Blazer might not even be in the game.
Potentially. Yeah, that last chapter just felt really weird, and like convergence of choice, like you said, and everything, and it just felt awful. It really made me go like, ooh, I didn't want to make any of these choices.
Also, we had some discussion about the cut sex scenes. Those absolutely should have been in the game. I have no idea why they cut that shit. This game felt very weird without any sex. Unironically, it felt very strange to not have one towards the end of the game to me.
Yeah, I agree because they showed like tits and dicks, so like,
Yeah.
why the fuck not?
They
They
basically
had the
showed a sex
fucking
scene.
yeah. They had Invisigal getting fully eaten out. Like they show fucking nearly goddamn everything, but they don't want to show a sex scene. Like what the hell?
Granted, I don't like sex scenes in games, and I think the Baldur's Gate ones are like super weird and more funny than anything. But it definitely felt really out of place that they basically just like serve one up to you in episode 3 or whatever that is, and then that's the furthest it goes.
They don't even have like a cut to black moment. Like these people are apparently sexless except for Invisigal's wet dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was so little of it that I didn't even realize that I was dating Blonde Blazer until like way later in the game. I was like, all right.
I mean, yeah, if you go that route, I feel like they definitely like cut content out because I don't even know what that would look like on the Blonde Blazer side because it feels like it's supposed to be Invisigal's story. So I don't know what game you played, but it sounds like almost the same one that I did, except maybe a couple dialogue changes in the end.
Yeah, I was actually going to give this game some credit in the sense of like all of my choices that I felt, or like the like big plot points that I had as a result of my choices, like romancing Invisigal, all felt like the intended story. And I was going to give this game some credit if that's also true for the opposite, like choosing Blonde Blazer. But yeah, it almost sounds like that's not the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's the Invisigal show for sure. Like they all funnel towards that, and they give you like multiple opportunities to like basically forsake your choice and date Invisigal instead, which is what I did. Actually, that's not true. I'm not even sure how like it's coded because in my ending slides and in the final credits, it said that I dated both Blonde Blazer and Invisigal, and now it's complicated. Even though in the story it felt like it was strictly I was just dating
That's funny.
Invisigal now.
That's funny. What was your interaction with like Phenomena Man? Like when he found out that you were dating Blonde Blazer, did he not like
Oh,
try to kill you?
I exiled his ass and chose Waterboy because I didn't want to deal with that.
Oh, and you don't have to interact with him at all if you do that?
Yeah, he only came back on the last day because we needed help dispatching.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, the only reason why I didn't pick Blonde Blazer was because I was like, I don't want to have to fucking deal with that guy because that sounds like that's going to become a problem.
Yeah, I made similar choices. Like I brought Waterboy in and dated Invisigal because like I don't want to deal with that fucking breakup situation. But yeah, everything I saw surrounding that afterwards made it seem like everything kind of ends up fine. Like there was a moment early on in the game where you first meet Phenomenon and you find out he's dating Blonde Blazer, where I was like, oh, this bitch is just fucking Omni Man. I'm not fucking with this. I
Yeah,
am preserving this guy's mental sanity as much as I humanly can. But so
exactly.
like I literally expected him to become a villain a la like Cooper Sonar by the end of the game if you fuck things up. But as far as I know, there is not a permutation where that can happen, which is just another example of choices not having big impacts, I think.
Yeah, knowing the character now, I feel like he would just not get it at all since he's like an oblivious alien.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, we kind of talked about some of the animation of this game, but like in terms of like a viewing experience, like let's kind of dissociate some of the game stuff for a minute. As a TV show, you guys mentioned that this would be much worse for you. Why is that? Like, if you just turned everything off and the choices were made for you, it sounds like you guys would like this less. Why is that the case?
I guess, well, it's hard for me to dissociate it because my favorite parts were the actual gameplay and dispatch
Mm-hmm.
sections. But if we were just talking about it being strictly a TV show, if we're going with like what the authors intended, which I assume is just Invisigal being mentored by Robert, I feel like I would have liked the first 90% of this hypothetical show, and then the ending would just fucking enrage me, and then that's all there would be, and there would be nothing redeeming in my experience that I got with like the dispatch sections, which I enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, I don't think the story was strong enough to be like a standalone thing. And especially like with how it ended, I think that they would have to kind of make it better in a lot of ways. But I mean, I guess I also got like the worst possible ending.
Yeah, like straight up, like even with like a minor narrative change, like if Trackstar just straight up died as a TV show, I think I would actually like it a lot. Like
Yeah,
literally, if everything else was the same and he just died instead of becoming fucking Looney Tunes Funko Pop bait, like I would have liked it a lot more.
it's very annoying he didn't die.
Yeah, I think the Trackstar bit in particular is like a like very much like a plot armor situation. Like there's no reason that they should have kept him around. I would have rather that Blonde Blazer gives her fucking jewel to Water Boy at the end than give
That'd
it
be
to Chase.
Yeah. Actually, I'd hate that, but like less, I guess. I'd still hate it though, to be sure.
I think it would be hilarious. I think it would be in line with this game. And I mean that in a good way, not like a like this game sucks, so they should have done this stupid thing like that.
Mhm.
I think it would have been better.
Yeah, just the lack of L's is kind of a bummer. Like, there's literally no L's anywhere. Like, nothing bad happened to anybody at all in like the long term.
Yeah, it is kind of like washed, huh?
Nothing bad happened. Like, even Sonar, who like should be irredeemable, like the game is very much like you should probably redeem this guy, even though there's no reason to, or not. So whoever you get rid of in your party.
Yeah, I guess Coop went to jail, and I guess when I googled it, I found out that like you can prevent that, but that's like the only quote unquote bad thing that can happen.
Oh
I
wait, did
guess
you not? Were you when they were like, should we redeem her? You were like, she's not with us.
I didn't get a choice.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Wait,
she just
really?
went straight. Yeah, like I think there was a choice where like I said like, hey, you should come with us, but then like the rest of the team was like, nah, and then she just went up in the paddy wagon,
Oh,
and I was
what
like,
the
all
hell?
right.
Huh.
Oh, that's funny that that happened. I didn't think that'd be an option.
Yeah, there must be some sort of like group morale ticker that checks for stuff like that because I treated Coop as evil as possible at all moments because she looks evil as fuck, and I was still able to bring her back at the end of the game.
Yeah, and this is what I think it is. It's from that last day dispatch where I didn't even, you know, like how she gets the health
Oh,
bar. I didn't even come close to winning. I got obliterated, and I think that maybe is like
so
Mm,
the
because you
the, the
lost in it.
crux of it. Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
what a weird punishment for that. If that's the case, what the hell?
It doesn't really like line up. Like it lines up like gameplay wise, but like narrative wise, I don't see how that makes sense.
That's very strange. You do just fight Sonar at the end if you kicked him out, right, Sesh?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So no fucking changes. Ugh.
Yep. You fight him, you beat his ass, and then you're like, he's with us, and then it's like, okay, whatever. I don't know. I didn't like
Hmm.
that at all.
Well, like polar opposite of what I said with regards to distilling it down to just watching it as a TV show. Let's just talk about it as a game for a second. So specifically the dispatch sequences, the resource management. There's shit popping up on your screen. You got to send out heroes, but not too many heroes. You got to build their stats. It's got some RPG elements. It sounds like you guys really like that. What did you guys like about it? I have my own stuff for liking it. It's not like the most insane game I've ever played, but I felt like it did serve or service the broader narrative, which I thought was interesting.
I don't know. I just kind of like generically enjoyed it. It was interactive enough and also kind of like slightly stressful enough to the point where I kind of wish it was like it had its own standalone mode after you beat the game just to get more mileage out of the
Yeah.
content that they've already made and also to give it some consequence because if you gave it like a standalone mode with like leaderboards in like you could just actually have a fail state where you just lose and that's just your score. Um I don't know how they would do the progression though. Maybe they'd have to do like this. I think this would be pretty bad if they did like some kind of like roguelite thing where like you get your stats pretty fast, or if it's just takes the progression from your regular TV show campaign and just make it persistent, which would make it, I guess, more competitive actually, because eventually everyone would have the same stats. But then that would get boring. So maybe not. Either way, I guess sorry, I went off track big time there. I guess the reason why I enjoyed it is because it actually felt, at least for me, maybe it's because I'm an idiot, it felt pretty challenging.
It was for sure. I agree that it was challenging. I thought it was like it wasn't challenging in like fun ways. I didn't think. I didn't feel like I feel like it just kind of like blindsides you with things, and then you're like, "Oops, I sent the wrong people here," and then it sends you like 3 missions at a time. Like I don't know. It didn't feel like challenging in a way that was engaging. It felt like challenging in a way that was like trial and error.
Kind of, but I mean, and I wish there were more stuff like those consumables, like the coffees. Like I
Yeah,
wish there was more of
exactly.
that, and something that they did that was like more reusable that I thought was pretty cool was like stuff like Malevola, where if you pair up with someone, she can heal injuries.
Hmm.
And I wish there was more of that. I guess, which there was, but like I felt like that was like the most impactful ability.
What did you think, Thomas?
I thought it was okay. I didn't. I think it would have been cool, or rather, it would be cool if they did like a whole blown out thing with it and applied some like more interesting design turns and fleshed it out a little more. But I do agree with what Ben said that like it was just stressful enough to be engaging. Um, yeah, it was fine. Honestly, I don't even have a whole lot to say about it. I think it was just totally 100% a okay. It was not
Yeah,
egregious. It was not great. It was just sending superheroes out and listening to them talk shit, and it was fine.
yeah. I agree with Tom. Uh, I think that this was I have a story. How do I get a game into the story versus I have a game. How do I get a story into the game?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so, yeah, it felt like the gameplay segments were just like a function of the story, which is like the part that I liked about it. How it kind of felt like an interactive. You get to live through these characters via dispatching them and seeing like their reaction to having to save a cat from a tree or whatever the fuck. But like from a game perspective, it felt like there's definitely a lot of mechanics that they could have made a lot more interesting and fun to play.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wish there was like a standalone version where they could actually
Yeah,
shoehorn that stuff in. Because like if you did that during the main campaign, it might be a little too punishing if there was like too much depth to it.
right.
Yeah, that was something I was definitely thinking towards the end of it. I remember specifically feeling that way after Blonde Blazer comes into your party and she
Yep.
like shields people that she runs over, and I
Yep.
was like, "Oh, this actually has some like potential here if they expanded it out." To the point that I'm kind of disappointed that there is not what you're describing with like a standalone section that kind of goes into a little bit more detail. I
Yeah.
think like in terms of just what was actually in the game, I think my favorite part was actually trying to interpret the words that it bolds as what stats that I need to allocate towards this mission. I thought that was kind of cool, but at the same time, it kind of bothered me where like one mission pops up and I send my mobility guy to this mission, and then like thinking that it applies towards that. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
But then the next mission comes up and it's another mobility one. Well, shit. Now I have to do this
Exactly.
in a very bad way. That kind of feels bad. And there's not like a lot of ways around that particular feeling.
Yeah, I think for those you basically have to like double up heroes. But there was one thing that bothered me about like those word interpretations, specifically with intellect and charisma,
Yep.
where some like I remember there was one where literally the bolded word was talk or speak or something like that, and it
Yeah.
was intellect, and that actually made me real fucking mad to the point
Yeah.
where I started the section over.
I know, I agree.
Oh,
That's
that's funny.
specifically the two that I'm talking about. Like sometimes that like kind of that line gets blurred and everything. That's why it didn't feel like it was challenging in like a fair, fun, engaging way. It felt like it was challenging in a trial and error way of if you just know what X is, then you know who to
Hmm.
send where. And then like what Seth said, it also feels terrible when you send people out and you're like, oh shit, I need more mobility people. And then also like the mechanic of where you can fail if you send too many stats towards one thing that needs that stat. It was
That was
like
stupid.
Oh yeah, that
That
was
was
some
real dumb.
bullshit.
yeah. Where it's like, hey, you need combat, but not too much combat, because then you're gonna lose. Like, I thought that was a terrible mechanic.
And it's especially bad, I think. I don't know if there's a way around this, but like there are some heroes that will like duplicate themselves, or the hero to their left like Prism does, or like Golem will fill
Yeah.
out the empty slots, but it won't show you what your stat allocation is until you send them out, so you can
Yeah.
just auto fail a mission without being able to see that that was going to happen.
Yep.
it doesn't show the updated like what is it called, like graph, I guess, but it does show you. It highlights like the stats that will be increased in those extra slots with the
Right.
golem, I think.
Yeah, I think it's because it doesn't solidify the stats until after you send them because it's like a random certain stats go up, certain stats go down randomly. So like it by that design it can't show you, but that doesn't mean that it's good design.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another thing is, and maybe this is just something that I wasn't understanding in the moment, but there are some of those missions that only give you certain options if a specific hero is sent there. Did those ones have a way of like intuiting you should have sent this hero? Like sometimes they say something and those ones are obvious and like sometimes
Yeah.
they give you the choice nodes, but a lot of times it was just like, oh, like I have to pick this option and it says if I sent Malevola, then I would have gotten this option, but I had no idea that I could have or I should have sent Malevola to this one.
Yeah, a lot of those felt like trial and error to me.
Yeah, that like unless
Yeah.
there's like hints towards that, that's dumb.
As far as I know, that's all it was. And all the Malevolent ones felt like extra random because like I felt like I didn't know anything about like what she liked or anything, and then like randomly it would be like Malevola locked, and I'd be like, I don't understand why Malevola would be the one for this. So I think it was just pick random shit, and then you get rewarded if you also pick the random shit.
Yeah, overall, I feel like decent system. Just if you dug into it a little bit more, it would have been a lot better. Like just a little bit, and it would have been really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Like even though I said it's my favorite part of the game, it's still honestly by comparison to like other actual games pretty dull.
Yeah, I think it's only my favorite part just because like getting to hear them banter with each other in like kind of that real time-esque
Yeah.
way was like the best part, not the actual like gameplay systems that I'm interfacing with.
Yeah, and the ways where that banter sometimes impacted the game. Like I think it's the very first day where Flambe goes out and like you see him moving on the map even though you didn't dispatch him and he sets fire to a suburb and you see him coming back. It's like, why'd you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like stuff
Yeah.
like that I thought was cool.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I think a standalone version would actually be significantly worse than what I'm imagining because like there's either no banter or the banter would just be generic and repetitive.
True.
Yeah, and I think the best case for this game expanded out is just like a really good Flash game, which sounds
Yeah.
mean, but I love Flash games. And the reason I say that is because when you really boil everything down, it just comes down to a random chance. Like, oh, I met 80% of what this was supposed to be, and I lost the 20%, and I couldn't do anything about that other than trying to understand it a little bit better. Oops. But
The gameplay of this game is also just a straight rip off of, if you guys know the game, This is
This
the
is
Police.
Police, yeah.
And I've played that game forever ago, and this game definitely felt less fleshed out than that game did. And I don't know if there's any employee overlap there or anything. I imagine there isn't because I think they were still working at Telltale at that time. But it's literally just that game.
the only thing I will say, I don't know much about that game, but the only thing I will say is that adding the animation of the dot bouncing around to what's otherwise just a random chance
Yeah.
adds a lot for me personally.
I think that they do. That's what Telltale does the best, right? Like they figured out ways to make like something like a morale system like guilt you just by showing a text box, and then also, yeah, they figured out the way of like making it seem like that. Oh shit! Like getting a really good suspenseful moment on the
Yeah.
dice rolls.
Yeah, like just turn that shit into a fucking pachinko machine and I'll be happy, even though I know it's all the same shit.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what they do best for sure.
I did have a bug at one point that was really funny where the dot just kept bouncing. It didn't stop. It took like 5 minutes for it to finally stop.
What the hell? That's funny.
Yeah, it was really weird. It never lost momentum and it just kept going.
Did you end up winning it?
I think I did. I don't remember.
I would imagine you did because I feel like if you waited 5 minutes and then lost it, that would be like a really frustrating moment.
All right. Is there anything you guys want to wrap up in terms of like narrative gameplay stuff before we move on to some of these other questions?
How many times do you guys think you laughed? How many times did the game make
It was
you
quite a
actually laugh?
few.
Do you mean like laugh out loud? Because I rarely, if ever, do that.
Yeah.
I
It
guess
could be
0. And
Yeah,
it's
it
not
could be
that
zero.
it was unfunny. It's just that I'm not the type of person that really laughs, even if it's funny
That sounds so depressing.
like that.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
very
I
funny
know.
statement.
It's more of a reflection of me than the game, is what I'm saying.
I'm with Ben though. Usually for me, it's usually with games specifically, it's like, oh, that's funny. Oh, I like that. Oh, haha. But he's only punching dicks. I still can't say it without giggling.
It was
Yeah,
good.
that shit
I
is
still
It was
that
can't
shit
say
good.
is
it.
hilarious.
Oh my god, that was so
Uh,
fucking funny. Like literally, just like uncontrollable giggle for like 5
yeah,
minutes.
it was two points that I laughed, both to do with Punch Up. He's only punching dicks, and he has a special power. And then pan over to the toxic guy having his cock
Oh
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good.
Yeah, like those moments I did like a lot. I just didn't physically open
Sure,
my
sure,
mouth
sure.
and laugh, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's basically the question, though. I want to know if there were any moments where you guys like actually laughed. Because for me, like also like putting his dick in his pants was like almost too. Because I thought I
Yeah,
don't know. I just
that
thought
was
that was like
pretty
what the
funny.
fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, there were like a lot of this game was funny as fuck. I'll
Yeah.
just say it like straight out, but like there were a lot of different varying degrees of laughter that I had. Like I don't remember how hard I laughed when like the fucking mechanical arm guy comes in the left window after the other guy breaks the right window and he's like, "And we'll break his arms." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll break your arms. That shit was great too.
I mean, even when they both in the bar fight where they both break his arms is funny. Like, yeah, where they grab each of his arms and then it's like, I didn't believe how easy it would be. Like, there's a lot of like small funny moments, but they also take a lot of
Oh,
shots and there's a lot of cringe moments too. So
yeah, the other one that got me during the bar fight in general is just great, which is also the restaurant scene. I'm kind of tying those together. But there's also during that fight where Prism flashes the guy and the guy is like, "She temporarily blinded me."
yeah,
And he's like, "No, I fully blinded you,
yeah.
bitch."
And then I think Chase, just like the first time you get introduced to Chase, is just funny because how many times he says "fucking" like in quick succession. You
Yeah.
got that that Boondock style humor shit on him.
Especially the interview with the reporter at the end of the game and he's
Oh
like, "Wait, I
yeah,
could have been saying fuck this entire time? Shit."
yeah.
And then the reporter, "I am being told that we cannot actually censor all of this."
Yeah, there's a lot of small stuff that's just like fun that they do. Even if it's not funny, there's a lot of fun. I think the most cringe shit I
Yeah.
could think of is Blonde Blazer. I think Blonde Blazer was just like cringe incarnate.
Yeah. Even some of the jokes like your areola is showing, like even
Yeah.
that wasn't funny. All right. Well, zooming out a bit, Thomas, I see this question you have here about like movie stars that are in video games. Do you want to ask that question to us all?
I just noticed there's been like a big uptick in um, games with like legit like actors with chops, you know, not just like names necessarily, but like actual actors who could in theory win like major awards. Uh, I guess just the question I would post is like if you guys feel like if that were to happen more, like if that was to become like a common thing where like we're all numb to the idea of like Timothy Chalamet doing mocap in a game or whatever, like it's just like a normal thing. Like is that a good thing? Like is that something that we would want like as people who play video games and shit to have that like level of crossover cuz a part of me feels like that shit's coming and it's almost like
Yeah.
inevitable to a degree.
Yeah. That's the exact word that I was going to respond to your question with, which is inevitable, because it kind of seems like Hollywood is like a crater right now. Like, I do remember the last time I went to a theater, it was watching Sonic the Hedgehog with you guys right before COVID, like the first Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and I've never even remotely even thought about watching anything ever again. And I feel like all those actors are going to be so hard up on trying to get a job that like video games are kind of like the next obvious like logical step in their careers. So I expect to see a lot of it, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm pretty indifferent to it. I'm just expecting it to happen, and that's about it.
You know, it's kind of funny, just as like a interesting aside to that, because like like, yeah, there's obviously the mocapping, but a lot of this stuff is voice acting work that these people are doing. Like, I think Charlie Cox in E33, I think he only did voice acting, right? Like, he didn't do any
Yeah.
of the mocap. And it's kind of funny that all of this is also happening at the same point that AI is kind of running rampant through the voice acting space, where it's like there's a lot less work now because a lot of these like people that don't have money to hire voice actors are just using AI, or like big companies that can afford decent like AI filtering just use AI for their commercials and shit now. That's kind of an aside to the actual question, but it's just kind of funny that that seems to be happening at the same time.
I don't know if video game performances will ever become like as lucrative as acting performances do. Was the question, do I like that? What was the actual question?
I guess, like, do you think that, like, the onset of movie stars being in video games, like, on a big scale, like something like this, where they'd give, like, an 8-hour performance or whatever, um, is that, like, something that is just going to happen just kind of through the natural order of, like, the way that the movie industry seems like it's kind of collapsing a little bit? And B, is that a good thing? And the way that I was, like, thinking about this from is whether or not it's a good thing, because, like, let's be honest, if I am a game publisher and I'm trying to market a game in order to sell the maximum amount of copies, am I going to want to have Jennifer English starring in my game, or am I going to want fucking Zendaya starring in my game? And the answer to that is pretty fucking self-evident, I think. So, like, I guess the idea is that a lot of these, like, really, really talented actors and voice actors and motion capture actors and all that stuff that are in these games sort of end up in games because they get pushed out of, like, actual Hollywood or big budget movie productions for this or that reason. Like, Ben Starr is one of those guys. Not Jennifer English. Ashley Johnson is one of those people as well, where they had careers in movies and stuff, but they didn't really take off and ended up in video games. And I guess I'm just curious if people like that would just end up getting shoved out of the way if, and only if, we start seeing bigger names in these game productions like this.
I don't think that they will get pushed out, and I'm saying this kind of like from a dopey perspective, with me being the dope. But like, I'm gonna tell a story from my childhood that's gonna make me sound like a fucking moron. So the first time I saw Mark Hamill was not Star Wars; it was from Wing Commander. So when I
That's
saw Star
awesome.
Wars for the first time, I was like, "Oh, that's Maverick from Wing Commander."
That's awesome.
So eventually we're gonna get like even we probably already see this with like Gen Z and stuff, where like these big names that we take for granted from our adolescence, like they probably don't even know who these people are, and then generations from now, like they're based like there's just going to be no difference between Aaron Paul and Ben Starr. It's just going to be the same to super zoomers.
That is true, but I think there will also be the phoning it in people, like Jake Paul showing up in a video game or something just because he's Jake Paul and he sounds like he's just talking.
Yeah,
Not to say
and
that this keeps
the,
doing that.
I was gonna say like the kind of corollary to that in a bad sense is like, and I'm not saying I'm going to use Cyberpunk 2077 as an example with Keanu Reeves, and I'm not saying Keanu Reeves is I'm not saying his performance is bad. He's really fucking good as fucking Johnny Tsunami or whatever his Johnny Silverhand is the name of that character in 2077. Very good performance. But what worries me about something like that is like, think back to the Cyberpunk 2077 trailer announcement, not the original announcement from like fucking 20 years ago or whatever, but it's the one that closes on like you're on the ground and you're looking up at fucking Johnny Silverhand and you see that it's Keanu Reeves because it just took his face directly. Something that I'm worried about is using facial recognition of popular actors like that as a way to bring people into these games instead of like the really fucking good performance that Keanu Reeves gave for that role. That's kind of a thing I worry about because kind of like you guys are mentioning too is like it sucks when like halfway decent voice actors get passed up and kind of lose their shot on a big role because of this like super popular Hollywood actor. And like it doesn't need to be that way when it doesn't need to be that way just so that these companies can get big facial recognition, right? Because I think of stuff like the StarCraft 2 announcement trailer where fucking Tychus just goes, "Hell, it's about time." They didn't use anyone's face for that. It's just like a good voice line and kind of hype and what everyone was thinking with StarCraft 2. So I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on the whole thing.
I think it'll wash out partially because I think future generations of kids growing up will just treat these celebrities as just not really celebrities anymore because they won't even really know who they are. But also, like even in the short term, like uh, they just won't appear in everything right away because they're too expensive right now. Probably, so they'll just go with like whatever the budget can afford, basically.
I think it will inevitably have like a shitload of bleed over and everything, but I think games like Grand Theft Auto will have like main roles as people who actually know how to act, but then they'll have a bunch of like cameos by the smaller roles, and I think that that's fine.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, games will probably like video gaming as a whole will probably be better off with like big name actors getting involved in them in one way or another, whether it's because they give really good, memorable performances or because maybe they get a little bit more money. Who knows? But I think overall it will be a good thing for the industry, even with my concerns.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think it's only going to help the video game industry grow, right? I mean, you're just going to have these people who have more and more marketability at the forefront, and that can only be a good thing, really, especially because, I mean, most of the people that we're talking about are people who would meaningfully contribute to something like this. Like, it's like, oh no, the movie stars are coming. All of a sudden,
Right.
shit's gonna get worse. Like,
I just think the
not that at all.
influencer would
So,
be what that is, right? Of like someone who doesn't know how to do it, but are there because of the big
yeah.
name, and then they
Yeah.
deliver a terrible performance, which may or may not have happened in Dispatch.
I guess that is like definitely the more likely thing, right? Because I mean, I don't even know how much like your average 14-year-old gives a shit about like a big movie star, but like they're not gonna give a fuck to see Sydney Sweeney get top billing in Hideo Kojima's new game. But if they see fucking
Yeah,
Kai Cenat and I Show Speed in that shit,
exactly.
it's fucking over.
But I think actors coming over will only be a good thing, right? Because all the ones that do like Andy Serkis and shit before do these like insane, like never before seen
God.
video game
Yeah, I mean,
performances.
yeah, just fucking think about Charlie Cox. The dude just
Yeah.
showed up, recorded, left, and got nominated for a fucking award.
Do you think the Oscars will get a best performance in interactive media?
I was gonna ask this.
No, no. The Oscars specifically, I'm not accounting for like the other awards, but the Oscars specifically is way too like Hollywood circle jerky to ever like let more people into their circle
Interesting.
jerk.
Because I know the BAFTAs have two video game categories. So I'm surprised that the Oscars are not willing to extend that at all.
I'm not saying it'll never happen, but it would fucking shock me.
It kind of feels to me like that ship might have sailed. Like I would have thought that that would have happened. Like if this was a conversation to happen, it would have happened at like Last of Us, and it still hasn't
Exactly.
happened like 11 years or whatever later. So yeah, I don't know.
Maybe. I feel like you need a much higher density than what exists, because like if you think of games with like Oscar Academy Award winning level performances, it's like none. Like Expedition 33, Mael and Verso. Andy Serkis is good too. Other than that, it's like nothing is quite up to like the chops that you would expect from like an Oscar level actor, which is like another thing for why I put that like third bullet point in there, which is like whether or not like the current level of motion capture, facial capture stuff just puts like a ceiling on how good a performance can really be. And the question that I posed in here was would a guy like Marlon Brando hypothetically still be able to turn in a performance like The Godfather, or are the available technologies still a bit too like uncanny valley and don't allow for enough like nuance for something like that?
Yeah, I think with a lot of games, they're not going to be able to fully capture that nuance because, like, even thinking of something like Expedition 33, there are good, like, little things that happen in the faces. Like, I'm thinking of Verso at the end of Act 2. Um, but, like, 90% of how good those performances are always come down to the voice. I can't really think of an exception to that. Like, it's definitely true in Last of Us. And there are, like, small exceptions, but it feels really hard to get an entire game with good enough mocap of high enough quality to be able to justify like hitting that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt. And that's why I asked, because like I just didn't. I kind of feel the same way, where it just doesn't feel like a game just can't compete with like an actual human sitting in front of
Yeah.
you, like conveying emotion. Like there's so much more that they can just do with that medium. Although it is interesting to have this conversation, because I do remember now, way back into when Lord of the Rings came out, like there was a lot of talk about if Andy Serkis as Gollum would be like eligible for the Oscar, if they should like create a new like category and all that shit. So I guess this is technically a conversation that has sort of happened. It was just in a movie rather than a video game, but made similarly.
I kind of have like a meta question for you because like it seems like you're very like live performance centric. Like, what about just stylized graphics? Like, are those just being excluded from having good performances? Just things that aren't photorealistic?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like plenty of people can turn amazing like voice acting performances, right? But um if we're talking like specifically about the comparison of like motion capture versus something that would win an
Like
Oscar.
acting?
Yeah, I think a little bit more than it has to go into it than just voice acting. I don't know if a voice acting performance has ever been nominated for like an acting Oscar. I don't think so.
That's the question I was going to ask because I don't think there has because obviously animated movies have been around forever. Sometimes they get nominated or win Best Picture, but has there been a Best Actor nomination that was purely voiced?
Nope, I just looked it up. I didn't think that was the case. The
Yeah,
closest
that's huh.
the closest that there has been, according to AI Overview, uh, is pretty funny actually. It's fucking Eddie Murphy as Donkey in Shrek.
I figured it was going to be something like that. I thought it was going to be Tom Hanks as Woody.
He got nominated for a BAFTA. Um,
Oh, but still not an Oscar.
yeah, similar kind of thing with Robin Williams as the genie. He got
He absolutely wow. If God, I know that was like forever ago, but Jesus, if anyone was gonna get best actor performance in an animated movie, it would have been Robin Williams as the genie. Holy moly.
yeah, co-signed that. But yeah, I guess just circling around back to Ben's question, I just think that um, you can still turn in an amazing performance. I guess like my brain stewed as I was talking there, but the ceiling on a voice acted performance is just lower than the ceiling on something where like it's a literal human in front of a camera. I think I'm not willing to die on that hill.
That's a tough one. Like I was actually thinking about that recently. I think I was watching I was watching Stranger Things and I was thinking like how different would these performances be if they were only doing voice? And so I think like in a vacuum, in theory, what you're saying is true. Like, yeah, you just take a voice actor's performance and give it a body, and then that body can like add things to the voice actor's performance. But at the same time, I think they're like very, very, very different things because you're relying on an animator versus like your body. And yeah, I don't know. It's a very hard question to me. I think there should be a voice acting category. I think there should be for the Oscars.
I think to Tom's point, I think they're too hoity-toity. Like even the fact that there isn't even is there even like a best animated film Oscar? Oh, there is one.
Yeah, I think
So
it's.
they just don't like
I think
voice
it's.
actors then.
I think it's somewhat
Well, but
newer, like in the last 20 years. Like I think they invented the best animated feature category because Pixar came into
Pixar, yeah.
existence.
yeah.
I think
And
that's
keep in
true.
mind, like animated films are still Hollywood, right? Like,
Yeah, Disney.
Yeah, but they seem like the
the
part of
most
Hollywood,
Hollywood.
they seem like the part of Hollywood that all the actor part of Hollywood talk shit about though, right? Like kind of like commercials and shit. Like, oh, that guy's doing commercials now.
I mean, honestly, I don't know. It kind of depends on who you talk to because I've looked at, because I want to do some voice acting stuff, and if you talk to anyone that like teaches voice acting, like there's fuck, I can't remember his name, the guy that voices Spike Spiegel.
Stephen Bloom.
If you, yeah, Stephen Bloom. Like if you look up any of his classes, or like anyone jumping into a voice acting space, the first thing they're going to tell you, take acting classes. Just go out, take acting classes,
Yeah.
because that is literally, it's half of what you're doing. It is voice and it is acting. And yeah, I don't know, that's not to like elevate voice actors above what a regular actor is, because they, in a way, they're doing like two things. But like, I don't know. To me, I think it's the same difference as a theatrical actor versus a film actor. Like, actors like is his name Charles Dance, the guy that plays Tywin in Game of Thrones, like a very classically trained theatrical actor, and you can see how his performance differs compared to everyone else because of that background. And I think it's very, very similar with voice actors. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing people like Ben Starr or Jennifer English or other big voice actors taking on acting roles, and you start to see that difference too.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's pretty common, if not almost universal, that most of these voice actors do start as just regular actors, right? Like I said, I know that was the case for Ben Starr. I know that was the case for Ashley Johnson.
Ashley.
I'm not sure if that's true for Laura Bailey, but she's also been voice acting since the dawning of time. So
it is true for Matthew Mercer, though.
Yeah, I knew it was true for Matt Mercer. I don't know if it's true for there's another big name in my head that I lost.
Travis Willingham in this game?
No, it wasn't someone from Dispatch. But like I said, it's Troy Baker. That's what I was thinking. I don't know if it's true for him. But yeah, I mean, like, you're an actor. You need to know how to act. Anyone can fucking talk. Anyone can be born with it's the difference between the guy who's 7'3" and plays college basketball but will never be drafted to the NBA because you actually have to start being good at basketball at some point.
Yeah, let's do this right here and right now. This is going to be a funny meme, and I'll cut it out if it's not funny. We all know that Ben has an amazing voice. Ben, give your best Indiana Jones impression.
That's going to be a problem because
Yeah,
I literally only ever watched one Indiana Jones movie, and it was with you guys, and it was like 5 years ago.
All right, let's reframe it. Ben, what do you think the best impression you can do is?
None. I hate hearing my voice. I don't like doing anything with my voice. And every time I do like an impression, it's always like the same voice.
I got it.
And it's always in a mocking tone every single time.
I got it. Ben, give your best DSP impression.
Fuck. Oh god, I don't know if I could do that in good faith.
It doesn't have to be in good faith.
Well, maybe not good faith, but like I don't even know which I don't even know if he has catchphrases. He has like catch speeches. It's I don't know.
I don't blame you for not wanting to do a DSP impression. So
it's okay. I'm sorry for putting you on the spot to try and draw a point. It's okay.
I can do the DSB laugh. It's something like ah ah ah.
Ack? It's like ack ack.
Jesus Christ. All right, before this devolves too much more, do you guys want to wrap up this topic and then move into ratings?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, we'll go Jordan, me, Thomas, Ben.
Yeah, kind of like how we talked about with the whole like, is this like a adequate like game? Like it still doesn't feel good to call it like a game because it kind of feels like a TV show that was adapted into a game, but like it was still an enjoyable experience. But I think it kind of had a lot of flaws in like the Specifically, like the ending, like this is basically like a Life is Strange kind of thing for me, which is like the beginning was really cool, but then once it started to try to like figure out how to resolve, it just felt like it fell on its face pretty badly. But I kind of like how lighthearted everything was for most of the time, and it was just kind of like really funny and leaned into being funny. So I still had a good time regardless. But for me, I think it's a 6 out of 10.
Ooh, do I get the point?
Points, baby.
This is
Points
you
for
put
me.
that in the
I don't know
wrong
if that
chat.
makes a difference.
Oh shit, I did. Delete message.
What'd you say, Jordan? 6 out of 10?
6, yeah. Who said I got? Who said 4?
Yeah.
Ben thought I hated this game.
That's funny.
So the way that I judge your ratings is I think about like gameplay density, and
True.
that's like the heaviest weight for me when I'm judging whatever you're gonna rate a game as.
That's fair. I thought the game was fun enough outside of that to where it didn't bother me as much as it could have. But definitely, if like the story or something was like extremely disengaging and I didn't give a fuck about anything, this game would be like a 2 just based on like gameplay merit because it ain't it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm at, where like I really had to like we can't really do this for like our podcast, but I wanted to give this game 2 different ratings. I wanted to give it a rating as a
Yeah.
TV show, and I wanted to give it a rating as a game. I can't do
Edith
that,
Finch.
so I'm yeah. So I only want to give it a rating as a game. And if I were rating this as a show or a movie or whatever, I'd probably give it like a 8.5. Like it's a little close. Like it's a step below something like Invincible. It's like several steps below something like Watchmen, which is like a 10 out of 10. But it is very enjoyable. It's very lighthearted. I think Sesh used that word. And like at the end of the day, I just thought the characters were like really fun and like uh surprisingly well performed overall as a whole. Um but yeah, like you start bringing in the gameplay aspects, and for me at least, it just started dropping. I don't think I ever really got into the fact that I would have enjoyed this game more as a show than a game. But yeah, I mean, I already ragged on this game for the weight of the decisions that you make and the lack of consequence or lack of relevant consequence, perhaps. Um, Even though I think that the dispatching gameplay that we talked about, even though I think it's a good like shell of a game, I just think by the time it finally becomes interesting with something like Blonde Blazer's mechanic, the game is already over and you don't really get to experiment with any of that stuff. So I don't know. By the end of the game, I felt like I was kind of just edging. But yeah, I mean, I won't go on a big long rant. I feel like all the reasons for not loving this game I've already explained, so I'm just going to give this game a 7.5.
I'm
Nice.
right on the money.
Points.
Damn,
Points for
all you got
everyone.
points. I think Thomas was up next.
Yeah, so truth be told, I didn't hate my time with this game. I would say actually it's kind of the opposite because I actually really enjoyed sitting on the couch playing this game with Mary because like the way we did it is we would just like alternate decisions. Like she would pick one, I would pick the next. She would pick one, I'd pick the next, and it created a lot of like like fun outside of the game moments because we'd be like, "Why the fuck did you say that to Blonde Blazer? Why the fuck did you say that to Invisigal? Why aren't you being nice? Because I'm an asshole." It was a lot of fun in that regard, and so like for that reason alone, there's still things that I did enjoy and appreciate about this game, but it's hard for me to ignore how off balance the narrative of this game feels because like the density by which events are packed into each scene means that like yes, this thing is going to keep a very brisk pace. It's going to go by quick, and it will feel pretty lighthearted because the stakes are always going to feel like zero, but it also means that I don't get a sense for who these characters were. And I felt like I missed a lot of like very foundational elements to the story and like who these people were, why I cared about them. Like by the end of the game, I had no idea who Shroud was. I had no idea who Invisigal was. I had no idea who Flambe was. I knew their attitudes. I knew how they would speak to me, but I didn't understand anything about their characters or why they were the way they were. And so I think I mentioned it earlier, but a real problem with this game, to me anyway, felt like I only saw the beginning and end of every single conflict, and there was none of those like middle parts that create fully fleshed out narratives and characters. And I don't think even in like lighthearted spectacle cape shit like this that is like something that a story should strive for, because at the end of the day, to me, that just ends up creating what basically a very rushed narrative, because all you have to think about is the difference between the first 3 seasons of Game of Thrones and the last 3 seasons, right? Big problem with that show is everyone kept teleporting and you missed all of those middle parts that allow the characters to breathe and tell you who they are. But instead, you're just teleporting from point to point to point, going between major plot beats. And that style of shit, again, just does not work for me. So, in terms of the spectacle, yes, it's again pretty solid cape shit, but it's not anything I would ever elevate in my life into the pantheon of like the superhero genre, nor is it even like a step or two below that. It's just kind of like okay. It's a mediocre narrative with a mediocre game stapled to it. The gameplay was there. The performances were great. I will definitely give it up for those. The character designs, like I mentioned before, felt a little bit lacking. They weren't terrible, they were just very unremarkable, kind of like how I felt about this entire game. And the script for this game had high points, but for the most part, it just kind of sucked ass. Uh, I do admit that I have a lot of curiosity about the way that this game was made, and I'm pretty excited to see if we'll see more of that in the future, and what people are willing to do and experiment with that, and how they'll market it, and how they'll bend narratives around it. I don't know. It's a really interesting idea, and I'm glad that they did it. But for this game, as a final released product, I'm gonna throw this shit a 6 out of 10.
Damn, that was way
Damn,
lower
we
than
all
I thought it would be.
overshot.
Get owned.
Makes
Mm.
sense.
I think something about the like general reception of this game bled into my scores for you guys.
What do you mean? Oh, like the outside perspective?
Yeah, like don't most people like this game quite a lot? Like what is it on
Yeah.
Metacritic?
Oh yeah, I think people
Very
like
high.
people like this game
Yeah,
very much.
I'm about to comment on that when I get into my rating.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, so I guess before I get into my rating, I had some thoughts percolating from what you were just talking about, Thomas, and what Jordan was talking about way earlier about the characters' like backgrounds and how little there is, and how it worked for Jordan and not for you. And I think in the context of this game by itself as like a standalone product, I think it worked fine. It just made them enjoyable characters to fuck around with and just experience their adventure. But I the lack of that like characterization does not make me excited at all for Dispatch 2, to the point where I think if there is a Dispatch 2, it either has to have an entirely new cast or it's going to flop harder than a European soccer player. Like that's just my prediction of a Dispatch 2. That being said, I think this is just kind of like a traditional Ben scoring of an 8 out of 10. I did enjoy my time with it, but one thing I will say is that like if you think this game deserved Game of the Year or even to be nominated, you're fucking retarded. Like they're not even the same universe as being like nominated for Game of the Year. That's just I can't see it any other way. But yeah, 8 out of 10. I
I
did
agree
enjoy
with
it, but like not Game of the Year material.
I agree with not Game of the Year, but I do think that maybe Aaron Paul should have gotten nominated for Best Performance
Oh
or
yeah,
something, because I do
yeah.
think he
Sorry,
did a
I
great
when
job.
agree.
I'm talking about awards, I'm talking specifically
Yeah,
just about Game of the Year.
Game of the Year, I
Yeah.
don't think it should have had a chance.
Actually, I meant to pose at like the top of this thing, like if like obviously this is the first Monday after the Game Awards last Thursday. But did you guys feel like it should have been nominated for more than it was, which was just like what, the voice of the community or whatever? Obviously, you guys just said one, which is
I
the
don't even think it
performance.
deserved that. I would have put Laura Bailey in Best Performance, and that's really
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, either Laura Bailey or Aaron Paul, but not both, and I'm not sure which, but one of them for sure.
Yeah,
I'd pick Laura Bailey, but I think I'm very biased.
my only problem with saying that is I'm not familiar with Erika Ishii or the Silent Hill Girls performance to know what's better between them, I guess.
I don't know. I feel like when it comes to nominations, you shouldn't be limited to X amount. I don't think that that's a good idea generally, personally.
I mean, there's like prestige in being one of the last 5 to be nominated. Like, it's you still gotta have some level of prestige just to be nominated, rather than fucking writing in my name and being nominated for TGA.
I agree, but winning a 2024 game award is not the same as winning a 2025 game award.
How do you mean?
If you were to be able to beat Expedition 33 in a category, then like that would mean you're like real shit, right? Like a game award is a game award. No one thinks about like who else were you against in that year. So I think that certain years where it's harder, there should be more.
Maybe, but how do you like qualify or quantify that is the thing.
A very biased way, kind of like how they already do it. Just you expand it out.
I think
write Jeff
this
Knightley
is
a check or whatever his last name is.
This
Yeah,
is the dumbest
Kiwi.
way of saying it, but however they do the votes for Family Feud.
That'd be good stuff. And you have to have like all 5 people up there competing against each other in Family Feud.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that was Dispatch. I believe I picked the game for next week, and I picked The Forgotten City. The Forgotten City is a Skyrim mod that got its own standalone game made in the Unreal Engine. It is the game where you finish Outer Wilds. It's your favorite game ever, and you Google search games like Outer Wilds, and Forgotten City is often at the top, along with Obra Dinn. I was just curious to revisit it after we played Paradise Killer. I've actually already finished my replay of it before this, so I have some spare time, which is nice. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys will think of it. I think Thomas and Ben were the only people who haven't actively played it. I believe Jordan already played it, but yeah, I'll just be curious to see what you guys think of it, and see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but I am excited to get like my own opinion on the game because my only experience with the Forgotten City is watching DSP play it, and obviously that means that I don't have like the best thoughts about it, but I'm sure it's a great game. Yeah. I do have a question about it. Is it like a one playthrough game, or do you have to like play multiple times?
Funny question.
There are multiple endings, but the game will tell you which ending you are supposed to get.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So there is like a true ending.
the achievement
Yeah.
I think is the canon ending. I was gonna post like play to get this achievement. It's something like that.
Okay.
It will be very obvious. Like when you get one ending, it shows you a little like chart thing with endings 1 through 4, and 4 is all the way at the end, indicating you should try
Gotcha.
and get that ending.
And the
Got
achievement
it.
is called the canon ending.
Okay, that helps.
But yeah, that was Dispatch, and GG. See you next week.
GG.
See ya.